Welcome to the channel. I'm Stacy, and my goal here is to help you to play better and sound better in your worship services. Today we're going to go over the parts for the song The King is in the Room by Phil Wickham. These parts are based on the major scale, which gives the song that happy, upbeat feel. We're going to be in the key of B flat, and we're going to be playing notes off of a few different chord shapes. One of them is going to be a D shape up here with our root on the B string at the 11th fret. Another is a C shape with the same root, but also a root up here at the 13th fret on the A string. And then we have an A shape with the same root, 13th fret A, and also a root on the 15th fret G. And then an F shape with the root we're going to worry about here is on the D string at the 8th fret. So we're starting up here on the 13th fret at the B string. This is part of the major scale coming off of that root at the 11th. We're going to pick that twice, and then the 15th fret on the B string, we're going to pick that twice. Back to the 13th, pick that twice. Up to the 15th again, pick that twice, and then there's a pickup, so a third stroke, and then we're going to repeat that. And then we're going to come down, it's going to start again at the 13th fret, and then down to the 11th fret, and we're going to repeat that same pattern. So 2 on the 13th, 2 on the 11th, 2 on the 13th, 2 on the 11th with that pickup note, a third stroke on the 11th, and we repeat that a total of 2 times. We don't repeat it, we play through it twice. So we play through it twice up here between the 13th and 15th, and then twice down here between the 13th and the 11th. I'll run through it slow, and then I'll play it with the effects. So just a quick note, when we wrap that up, coming out of the intro or the turnaround from going into verse 1 or verse 2, we don't pick that 11th fret with that extra pickup note. We just wrap it up there with the 2 that we played and then go on to the next part. But here is that intro and the turnaround with the effects. And coming out of the intro, we're going into verse 1, and we're going to be down here on that root on the 8th fret D string. We're going to palm mute, and we're going to pick that 4 times, and then we're going to pick it again 7 times. And that group of 7, we're going to repeat a total of 5 times through. So it'll sound like this going into that 4 and then the 7, and I'll play through that a couple of times without the effects, and then we'll go into the next part. We go through that 5 times, and then we're going to pick it 3 times palm muted, and then let the palm up, strike it once, and then we're going to slide up to the 12th fret on the D string, pick that, and then the 13th at the D string, and then we're going to be back down here to our root on the 11th fret B string, and then back up to the 13th fret on the D, and then the 12th on the D, and that completes that first part of the verse. And then we're going to be back down to repeat the 4 picks, and then the 5 cycles of 7 picks. So I'll go through, real quick too. And then, so we repeat that, and then we're going to go into the wrap up of the end of the verse part, and it's a different little run. We're going to pick those same 3 palm muted notes at the 8th fret. We're going to let up, and we're going to slide up to the 12th, the 13th on the D string, and then on the B string, the 11th, and then the G string, we're going to be on the 10th fret, and that's part of that D shape. And then we're going to pick the B string at the 13th fret. And that's going to wrap up that first part. And then we have a little turn that goes on our A shape, 15th fret on the D, G, and B strings. And then we're going to play like a B flat sus4, where we're going to bring a finger down and fret the 16th fret on the B string. So I'll run through that whole verse. I'll go through the whole thing slow, and then I'll play through it with the effects. And here it is, more up to pace with the effects. And coming out of that, we're going to go into our first chorus. And our first chorus kicks off down here on the 6th fret on the B string. And that's part of that F shape. We're going to pick that, slide it up to the 13th. And then we're going to kind of repeat the first, we're going to repeat the first half of the intro. So the 13th fret twice, the 15th twice, the 13th twice again, the 15th twice with that pickup note, so a third time. And then we repeat that. And then coming out of that, we're going to be on the high E string at the 13th fret. We're going to pick that 4 times. And then a little walk down on the B string from the 16th fret to the 15th and the 13th. And then we'll repeat that. Coming out of that, we're going into a post chorus. And that's going to be rooted up here, coming off of that A shape at the 15th fret. We're going to be on the G string, 15th fret. We're going to pick that and hammer onto the 17th fret. We're going to do that twice. And then we're going to pick the and then we're going to do that hammer on one more time. There's a slight pause. And then we're going to pick the 15th fret at the G and then the 15th fret on the B. We're going to repeat that hammer on process. So 2 times, slight pause, another time. And then we're going to pick the 15th fret on the G and slide it down to the 14th. And we're going to do that twice. So I'll run through all of those parts, but I'll just go through them once. So the slide up into the beginning of the chorus, I'll run through that chorus passage once, and then I'll run through that post-chorus once without the effects, so you can see how it works slow. Here we go. And then we do go through that one more time, but the second time through, we don't do the third hammer on and the slide from the 15th to the 14th. And that sets us up for verse 2. Now I'll run through that chorus section with all the effects so you can hear how that sounds all together. And then coming out of that, we're going into the turnaround, which is the exact same as the intro. And then we're going into verse 2. So we're coming into verse 2, very different. We're going to be just picking here on the 13th fret on the high E and sliding it down to the 10th. It's kind of part of that D shape. And I kept the overdrive on for this, and then I kicked it off for the rest of it. There's kind of some gaps in this part as far as like we're playing a much more laid back part. But we are doing that little slide down, and then we are doing that same walk from the D string 8th fret to the 12th, the 13th, and then the B string 11th, back to the 13th, back to the 12th. And then we're going to wrap up that verse with a rake on a G minor, and that's just right here. So we have, I'm fretting the D string. You don't have to strike that. It does add a little bit more fullness to that chord, but if you only did the G string, B, and E, it would still work. But we're fretting the 12th fret on the D string and the G string, and then the 11th fret on the B, and the 10th on the high E. Now I'll run through that second verse a little bit slow without the effects, and then I'll go through it with the effects. And then coming out of that, we're going into another chorus, which is the same as the one we just went over. So there's no changes there. And then coming out of that post-chorus, the last two hammer-ons that we do from the 15th to the 17th fret, we're going to come right out of that, and we're going to want to strike the 11th fret on the B string with our ambient tone. I'm going to pick that once, and then the high E at the 11th once, and then the high E on the 10th. And then we're going to rake another G minor, which remember we're here at the 12th fret with our D and G strings, the 11th with our B string, and the 10th with our high E. And then we're going to do another one of those slide downs from the 13th fret to the 10th fret on the high E. And then we're going to pick the 13th fret on the B string, and then the 11th fret on the high E, and the 10th fret on the high E. And then we're going to be into a swell section on the bridge, and we're going to be on the G at the 10th fret, the B at the 11th, and that is a B flat chord. And then we're going to fret just the 10th fret on the G and B. That's an F chord. And then there's a little bit of a pause, and then the 11th fret on the B, the 12th on the G, and that's going to be another G minor. We're going to swell on that, and then swell again on the 10th fret, G and B, that's an F. And then the 8th fret, G and B, which is an E flat. And then we're going to come up and pick the 13th fret on the B, and then the 11th and 10th on the high E. And then the 13th at the B string, the 11th at the B string, the 12th on the G, the 10th on the B, and the 11th on the B. There's kind of a walk that happens right there. And it's really cool when you get it locked in. So I'll play through that whole thing without any effects, and then I'll go through it with all the ambient tones. And now I'll run through it with all the effects. And coming out of that, we're going to be into another chorus, which is the same as what we've already gone over. And then out of that chorus, we're into another turnaround. And this one's the same as the intro and the turnaround we went over before, only it's going to run through twice. And on the second pass, we're not going to hold off on that pickup note on that 11th fret on the B string. We're going to pick that, and then we're going to pick another one. And that's how we're going to wrap up the song. And then for that part, I did kick on my swell tone just to carry on as that song wrapped up. But however your church is going to do this song, you'll want to adjust for that. But here's the second half of that last turnaround. It does run through twice. I'm going to go through it once with all the effects, and then just show you how I wrap that up. This song's a lot of fun to play, and just with how saturated it is, running all the effects into the front end of the amp, it just feels really good in the hands. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, subscribe and hit that like button for good measure. If you'd like the resources for this song, you can find them at a link in the description box below. There are a handful of downloads free for you in there as well. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you in the next one.